Under the cloud. Hello, Vance. Megan Marini here. Great to meet you. I look forward to formally meeting you tomorrow for the team workshop, the team resiliency workshop. So I wanted to ensure that you got this information this evening before the meeting. So I'm giving you your custom read back virtually. And I think that it's really fantastic when we get to interact during it, because we can make it very custom to what it is you're working on and you get to share. So for the sake of time and whatnot, we'll just have a one-sided conversation now, but it should still inform you and be very insightful. I've gotten some really great feedback from others on the team. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and excuse me the wind. We have the dog, the whole kit and caboodle, as they say. I'm just going to take a moment here and pull up your profile. And then share my screen with you. Alrighty, and then we'll pull this out so you don't have to see all my stuff on my thing. All right, I'm going to keep it so we don't see your name so I can share this. So what we're looking at here is over 65 years of industrial science. So we have a really great amount of information when it comes to behaviors at work so that we can predict outcomes. Hold on one sec. Let me just have my dog. Lena, hey, quiet down. Go lay down. Let's see if she listens to that. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, you are a persuader, which is one of the social reference profiles. So you are a risk taker, you're socially poised, and you are a natural motivating team member, which is fantastic. So what we have here is a 6 to 12 minute assessment that you took. And from this, we can garner your needs at work and then your behaviors. So when we think about affecting change at work or sort of curating outcomes, bringing teams together and building these sort of what we call talent optimization. So really helping people to succeed at work. What we want to understand is what they need and then put them in the right places and support them, right? When we think about flowers that are growing, we want to think about how much light, how much water we're giving them so that they can grow the best that they can. So we have 4 main factors, A, B, C, and D, and these are going to be different. So if you were to look at a different persuader, they would have a different set. And this is low to high. And what we're looking at here is A, B, C, and D are the main factors in drives. So factor A is dominance and your need to exert yourself over others and on events. So you tend to be high in your need for independence and authority. So you have a natural ability to lead. Is what that means. Someone that's lower A is going to naturally be a consensus builder, really tuned into what's going on with others, whereas you can show up and you have ideas on how and where to go. Your B factor is your need to have social interaction with others. So you're quite high on that drive for social interaction. So I like to think of this as the need to interact with others when you're thinking, things like this, quick to connect with others. The C factor is your need for clarity and your patience. So you're quite low with that, and what that means is that you have a real skill on driving things forward. So getting things to happen, you have a natural urgency, you crave variety, you actually do really well under stress. Whereas others on the team might have more of that steady, they want some consistency, they need that clarity before they take action. Whereas you can function quite well in ambiguity and you have no problem with a big picture and then taking action and getting going. So we do want to always be cognizant that our strengths can be very different than others. And when we are working with others that need that clarity and that stability, where you're in a leadership role in HR, you're going to want to be receptive to what's going on with others if they do need more, because you'll be fine with that big picture. Okay, let's go. And they might get up and walk away from the meeting and need a bit more to feel confident and comfortable taking action. So that would slow them down, right? Because they're going to be sort of stuck wondering, well, how do I turn that amazing big picture idea into tangible results? Whereas you have no problem with that. So you are lower on the D. The D is the formality factor. So it's your drive for structure and rules. So you're lower on the structure. So you're more flexible. You can go with the flow when it comes to rules and regulations. But we call this the corporate hook. And what that means is that you adhere to corporate structure, rules and regulations quite naturally. And you can be very, very trusted in a corporate setting. So this self-concept that we're looking at, this is pretty baked. We consider it baked by the time you're about 20. And I always like to think of this as the hardware. So we have head, heart, and briefcase. The briefcase are the skills that you bring to the table. They are the software that you know. They're your resume. They're the hard skills you come with. Right? Then the heart is really what you hold dear to you, your family, your values, if you have things that you invest in or give back. This is what keeps you up at night, right? And then the hardware is really how you're sort of hardwired to behave at work. So you can think of this as just one data point. You know, when you're hiring someone, right? It's like this that we're looking at here is going to be indicative of how you behave at work. And this self-concept is if you were left to your own devices, how would you behave naturally? So it's the basic motivations, drives, and needs that you come with. And you, 10 years from now, you'd have the same profile or very similar to, unless you had a major traumatic experience during that time. The self-concept is going to be how you think you need to adapt when you're at work in your current situation. So it changes quite drastically in your profile. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And then the synthesis is the aggregate of the two. And this is most likely how you will show up at work, right? Is sort of a synthesis of the both of them. And it becomes a much more moderate profile than either of yours, right? So this is going to be really strongly felt, this self-concept, and you moderate yourself at work quite a bit. And then we have the subjective or the objective, the E factor, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to explain a little more about this natural basic motivation and needs that you come with. So you tend to be pretty quick to connect with others. That's that high B, that very social. You make other people feel comfortable pretty quickly. You're a great communicator. You tend to be very proactive. You're ready to take action. You're very achievement focused. You tend to be impatient with routine, with this low C. You do not want to do the same thing day in, day out. That would lower your engagement. You would produce less if that happens, right? You're happy taking initiative. You probably crave taking that initiative. You're comfortable with risk. You're very venturesome, self-confident in making those decisions with that high A. And you tend to be informal yet very poised. So you're extroverted, very easy to create those relationships that you need. When you have both high A and high B, you can be very demanding, enthusiastic, and you are a natural leader. So it would be very surprising to find you as just one of the people on the team. But here you are, head of HR. So you definitely are that team lead. And then the corporate cutback I talked about a little bit with the corporate standards are not a problem for you at all. You thrive in that area. And let's see what else, fans. I want to talk to you a little bit about each of the relationships. So the factors have relationships to each other. And that's where things get quite interesting as far as I'm considered. So let's look, because I like to read it from here. It's always quite, okay. So you tend to be, when we think about workforce behaviors, you tend to be more people-oriented over task-oriented, and that's that B above the A, okay? So that, that gives you the skill or the ability to naturally be empathetic when communicating. When you're delegating authority, you delegate quite easily. You're adept at that, which is great in a leadership role. When it comes to problem solving, you tend to be collaborative and you do want to talk through those ideas. Would easily find you workshopping ideas and sort of fleshing out new ideas with others that's going to help you generate those ideas. And you do tend to be consensus driven as well. So even though you have the high A, you want to touch in with others and see what they need before moving. And then as far as being proactive versus responsive when it comes to workforce behaviors, you are going to be more on the proactive side. And this is something that ran across as a consistent with, I think, every single person on the team with you. So the entire HR team. So you're very good under pressure, and you have a positive response to change, and you are a change agent within an organization, which is amazing to be placed in the position that you're in, head of leadership, head of leadership role in HR, and given this COVID, emergency situation, you were able to adapt, respond well. You probably were even energized by the need to do this, whereas probably folks on your team may not have been. Excuse me, I made like a turmeric latte. Whew, that's quite the drink. Excuse me. As far as taking action, you are decisive, proactive, ready to go. When it comes to listening, this is a place where you might find a little bit of difficulty, where what I suggest is where you're in a leadership role, if you cannot always make yourself available to fully open and listen to others when needed, to find someone on the team that's naturally adept at listening, or bring in a coach for certain conversations. And if you cannot, then what I suggest is to really put everything down and really practice great listening skills. I know I have a very similar profile, so it's like you'd rather be moving and grooving and having things happen, but it is also deeply rewarding, right, when we do practice active listening. So you are comfortable with risk, you're great at the big picture, you don't need a lot of rules to function, and you'll actually see risk as an opportunity for growth, which is fantastic in a leadership role. You really need to be able to have that innovative thinking, which is another track of continuity between the team that we'll see and we'll talk about tomorrow at the workshop. And then obviously you do have this ability to quickly connect with others, which I will tell you, a lot of people covet this. They're like, oh, I wish I had the ability to connect quickly with others. So do see that as a skill, but also know that that's a place where other people who are slower to connect might need more information before they're going to fully unfurl and connect on all levels. And that's always those places where our skills, we want to be thinking about how that's received from the perspective of others. So you tend to be informal. So that is that big picture. You have no filter. So you're happy to share ideas before they're fully baked. Others may not. Others might really crave that deeper thinking before communicating. Another point to be cognizant of. So you do tend to be quick to trust, easy to delegate, which is good. And with other team members, I did do a little bit of sort of running through how are we delegating, especially where all of you are leaders in the company. It's like, let's be really cognizant of the delegation, which so far so good. Everybody's got some really great skills and tools when it comes to following up and being able to do that, because you're all big thinkers, big innovators. So delegation can be one of those points where it's like, well, who's in the process? How do we do that? And how do we as leaders stay in a role where we feel confident as we delegate, right? Because we don't want to end up saying, oh gosh, did I do that well? And that can take energy away. So you are careful with rules, and that's that corporate hook, so that you're happy to work within a structure. You do crave that clarity, and deadlines are quite rigid for you. So very strict punctuality, you want accuracy. So this is, again, another point where it's really great to communicate your needs to others, whereas other managers may have been more lenient on things like this. This is a point for you where you need that. You need people to hand things in with accuracy. So communicating that very clearly, I'm sure that's something you already do, and we could talk about further if you would like. So the persuader, just broadly, you tend to be natural at really seeing the direction to head, venturesome, self-confident. You even have a strong ego, and you take that initiative to get things done. You delegate well. Yeah, you are a persuader. So I hope that that part was helpful. And then I want to take a look down at the self-concept. So what we see here on your profile is that there is quite a shift between the self and the self-concept. So you perceive the need to be less independent. So the A comes all the way down, and less individualistic, more agreeable, more cooperative at work, less dominant and assertive, more cautious, less venturesome, and more of a team player. So you're trying to be more concerned with facts, showing up more factual in your expression of the projects, more concerned with technology than people, more reserved and introspective and less outgoing. So you need you feel the need to be, so the C goes way up. You feel the need to be less intense, less driving, less urgent, and less demanding of yourself and others. And you perceive the need to be more thorough, more detailed, more accepting of rules, and more cautious in your decision making, and less tolerant of mistakes, more attention to detail and accuracy. So how I would, and you may process this in your own way and have questions for me, which I'd love to answer and discuss with you. So how I would sort of think about this is really exploring how you can show up and be more assertive, so that you can drop into this, I'm going to say, superpower that you have to be social, to be assertive. This is a place where you actually will thrive. So allowing yourself to do that, and allowing people to show that you do have urgency and you can be steady, because you have a pretty adaptive profile when we synthesize and bring them together, which allows you to flex a lot, which in and of itself is quite the skill. So again, I'm happy. It's really great when we get to talk one-on-one, because we get to flesh this stuff out. It's really great to be specific with what you have going on as well right now. So the E factor, I'll tell you, is you tend to be a bit more on the subjective side when it comes to decision making. So that said, that means that you're going to go toward your gut and your instincts when decision making. But where the E factor is within the gate of the profile, it doesn't wildly sway your thinking, right? It's not that much of a deterrent from how you, if your E factor was out here, that would make your decision making much more instinctual. So it's just a bit, and it's just a bit off the midpoint. So yeah, that's what I have for you today, Vance. And again, as I mentioned a few times, I'm happy to go over this further and make it even more specific for you. But I hope that you found some nice insights and some nice self-awareness in that. And I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow.